Hello, Gary Stearman. Welcome to another update from Prophecy Watchers. Let's talk about things in the Middle East. Of course, we've just come through the agonizing and lengthy talks between Iran and the United States with other Western countries about Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons. In the end, the agreement was considered to be very weakly constructed, allowing Iran to go ahead and develop nuclear weapons. And not only that, the delivery systems are allowed under the new so-called agreement. It's not a treaty, it's an agreement. And practically the day after the agreement was forged out, Iranian envoys were in Russia making deals with the Russians to buy, of all things, missile delivery systems of various kinds. That's an existential threat to national Israel. And Benjamin Netanyahu has essentially said, wow, this is it. This is something that could wipe us out. And I think all Israel is very much conscious of this fact. There is another existential threat to the life of modern Israel, as reported in the July 2015 Israel Today magazine. And it has to do with the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, the so-called BDS movement, which essentially boycotts Israeli business and trade. It places sanctions on various activities of national Israel. I think of it as an anti-Semitic movement, and it has its roots in the fact that there are many, many people in the world today who believe that Israel has no place as a modern nation, that Israel essentially should go home, wherever that is, and leave the land of Israel to the Palestinians. So in Israel today, we have this, a high-profile boycott of Israel by the UK's National Union of Students and the CEO of global communications giant Orange, saying he'd love nothing more than to cut business ties with the Jewish state, along with the routine banning of Israeli products at scattered supermarkets. By the way, this has finally begun to get the attention of the average Israeli man on the street. They're starting to notice in small ways when they go to their grocery stores, when they go to their dry goods stores, etc., hardware stores, there's less to buy, and it costs more. So the BDS movement is having an effect on modern Israel, so much so that it's now being termed an existential threat. You know, it's fascinating. Even Palestinian businessmen, as reported in the same issue of Israel Today, have said that they are against the BDS movement because it's cutting their business in half. They're suffering as much as the Israelis are, and of course it's well known that Palestinians in the Middle East depend upon Israel for their very lifeblood when it comes to trade and sales and business development, when it comes to manufacturing, agriculture. The Israelis are dominant, and the Palestinian business community has learned to depend on Israel. So in the same magazine, the July 2015 Israel Today magazine, there is a Palestinian businessman who has come out and basically has traveled to 2 or 3 countries in the Middle East and announced his opposition to the BDS movement. I don't have time to go into detail on that, but this is the trend of things that are happening. We have the Iran deal, we have the BDS movement picking up speed, we have ISIS to the north of Israel, Hezbollah on Israel's northern border, essentially gaining strength every day and being fortified by the Iranians. And then in Israel proper, in fact, in Jerusalem, and by the way, this comes also from Israel Today magazine, an article entitled, "What's Happening Under the Dome of the Rock?" You know the Dome of the Rock, that golden dome that sits right in the middle of the old temple platform. It's a dome that was put there by the Caliph Omar a very long time ago, and essentially it was an ode to Muhammad, a criticism of the church, that is, the writings inside the dome, are anti-Christian and anti-Jewish, by the way. And yet it is the prominent golden artifice on the Temple Mount. This article starts out, the carpets have been replaced in the cave beneath the Dome of the Rock thanks to a donation from the King of Jordan. During the work, the marble floor, which covers the opening of the foundation stone, that stone, by the way, is well known to Israelis as the Evan Shetiyah, and that stone is of great importance because many of them believe that is the location of the receiving of the Abrahamic covenant. That the Evan Shetiyah has been basically uncovered for the first time in a very, very long time, which I consider historically important. On Facebook and Twitter, Muslims posted pictures of the carpets being replaced. This alerted Israeli archaeologists to the fact the Muslims have opened an additional construction site beneath the Temple Mount. Let me repeat that, beneath the Temple Mount, without consulting the authorities. No Israeli was consulted about the work that's going on. One individual, the chairman of the Israeli Antiquities Authority, a gentleman by the name of Israel Hasson, said this: what is going on in the cave is outrageous. Structural changes are being carried on without any consultation with us. And of course, the Waqf, the Arab Waqf, under the domination of King Abdullah II of Jordan, administers the Temple Mount, and they've been doing a lot of archaeological work in and around that mountain without telling anybody. While the carpets are being replaced, ancient bedrock stones were torn out. On the other hand, the Waqf, or Islamic Trust, which controls the Temple Mount compound, routinely prevents any activity by Israeli archaeologists. We've missed out on a spectacularly large amount of archaeological study of the Temple Mount, Hassan lamented. Torah scholars believe the foundation stone to be the site upon which God established the world. They go back even farther than Abraham. Torah scholars believe that is the central spot in all the earth. Now, curiously, they have no access to it. Only those who would essentially like to change the construction and the layout of the place have access to it. This place has also been identified, as I mentioned a minute ago, as Mount Moriah, where Abraham was prepared to sacrifice his son Isaac. The Holy of Holies of the first and second temples are believed to have stood above the Evan Shetiyah. So this is a very important spot on planet Earth. The Talmud says that the well of souls, and I'm not sure whether I believe in the well of souls, but that would be central to the spiritual life of Israel, is situated under the rock, which serves as a cover for the abyss containing the raging waters of the flood. So there's a lot of Jewish mysticism attached to the site. What I'm saying is that this may well be the single touchiest spot on planet Earth, and it's being excavated now, and no one is really sure what's going on. Although Twitters, Facebook entries and so forth have shown work being done there. Muslim tradition says that this place, this gap or aperture in the Temple Mount covers the bottomless pit with the flowing waters of paradise where the dead await the day of judgment. So all the superstitious, the near superstitious, the religious, the historically minded, the archaeologically minded people attach a huge significance to this spot. Islam has begun to dig it out, and they're not telling anybody what they're doing. According to the Israeli Temple Mount archaeologist Saki Davira, the marble floor in the cave contains a mosaic, by the way, which is called the Opus Sectile, dating back to the Byzantine period over 1,500 years ago. And in contrast to standard mosaics, which are constructed with large number of stone fragments, the Opus Sectile, that is the stone cut work, this technique uses larger pieces prepared in shapes and put together to form an illustration. So this very valuable archaeological artifact may in fact be in the process of being torn up. The cave here under the Dome of the Rock and the entire Temple Mount are being very slowly but surely modified in the hands of the Arab Waqf, and Israel can do nothing about it. You can imagine the frustration. The Bible has a comment on this. Psalm 87, I believe, is referring to this spot on planet Earth. It says in Psalm 87:1, his foundation is in the holy mountains. The Lord loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Well, the gates of Zion surround this spot. Glorious things are spoken of thee, O city of God. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia, this man was born there. Of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her, that the highest himself shall establish her. In other words, speaking of Zion, speaking of the holy mountain, you have a situation here in this psalm. By the way, this is one of the psalms of the sons of Korah, and it is a praise to God when he comes back on Judgment Day. Of Zion shall be said, this and that man was born in her. That's when the books of life are opened up and the census of the saints is read. The highest himself shall establish her. The Lord shall count when he writeth up the people that this man was born there. As well as the singers, the players on instruments shall be there. All my springs are in thee. And that bottom line, the last line of Psalm 87, which is speaking about Mount Zion, speaks of all of the springs of God being beneath this area. And if you hearken back to the article that I just read, Jews, Christians from the Byzantine era and forward, and Islamics all believe that there is some kind of a vast well beneath this area. Where in the world did they come up with that idea? Well, they could have read Psalm 87, which says, all my springs are in thee, implying that there is some kind of a vast supply of pure water beneath that area, which is being held in check. Interestingly, there is Bible prophecy that says that when the Lord comes back, the second coming, that this whole area is going to be bathed in an endless supply of water that wells up from beneath and flows toward the Dead Sea and toward the Mediterranean. So the Bible, as well as archaeological pursuits, as well as spiritualistic stories of all sorts from ages past, are looking to this area, thinking of it as the place from whence the salvation of the world shall arise. And yet, currently it's in the hands of the Waqf. And what are they doing? Well, they're digging around down there without permission from anybody. They don't need permission. And they're on the verge of causing a real disruption in the relationship between Israel and the Arab Waqf, the Palestinians. It's interesting when you look at the Middle East on how many levels things are destabilized right now, whether you're talking about Iran, Turkey, Hezbollah, whether you're talking about ISIS, whether you're talking about downtown Jerusalem and the Temple Mount, and who knows what illegal, immoral kinds of work going on underneath the Temple Mount. Wherever you look, Israel is under siege right now. And thinking back to the BDS movement we talked about a minute ago. How long? Oh, Lord, we might ask. Wow, everything seems to be breaking loose today. I'm Gary Stearman. For the very reasons that we've just mentioned, we're watching. So you keep watching, too. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.